Chapter 7. Creation, Marks and Games. Luna's scream echoed down the expanse of the cave. Celestia looked up from her work, more complex mammals, and saw Luna running towards her, tears streaming down the filly's face. "Luna, what's wrong?" she asked. "I don't know," Luna cried. "I was just playing around and I was waiting for you to raise the moon and then my horn started glowing and the moon rose up and this happened." The filly turned and showed that her flank was now adorned by an image of a crescent moon against the night sky. "I tried washing it off but it won't go away. Am I sick? Am I gonna die?" Celestia looked at the mark and blinked. I think it's harmless, but that doesn't make any sense." She turned away and began to pace. "When I first arrived here I had a mark on my flanks." She flicked a wing to her flanks, indicating the image of the sun. "And when you weren't born with one I assumed that it was merely a quirk of warp travel. But now that you've seemed to have gained one, I don't even know what to say." "You're not going to start poking me or anything, right?" the filly asked, her sobs now dying to sniffles. "No, it won't come to that. But still. Luna, I would like to sample some of your fur, and maybe if you could use some of your warp energy." "You mean magic?" the filly asked, causing Celestia to blink in confusion. "What? Magic? That's what I've always called it." "Luna, utilizing the warp is not magic. Magic is just a mess of illusions and sleights of hand. Utilizing the warp is actually bending reality to your will, crafting and creating things that most mortals wouldn't be able to comprehend as long as they lived. I still call it magic. You want something to happen, and it happens even when you don't do anything. It's magic." Celestia opened her mouth to respond, but a thought interrupted her. Just humor her, she's still young, relatively speaking, so she should grow out of it. Well, then, if you want to call it magic then go ahead. Now, I'll just need some of this." Her horn glowed and 3 strands of hair were yanked out of Luna's flank, causing the younger pony to yelp in surprise. "You said there'd be no poking," Luna cried. "I lied. Now, just use some of your magic." Luna nodded and her horn lit up, a blue aura enveloping a small rock near Celestia's hooves. The rock floated upwards before Celestia plucked it out of the air and placed it with the fur. "Now, give me a few minutes and I'm sure I can have an answer." "Okay." Luna wandered off while Celestia examined the rock and fur. She swept her horn over the objects, searching for signs of corruption. That's interesting. Luna's actually growing stronger." She did another sweep. "Perhaps I'm overreacting, Luna just seems to be going through a growth spurt. Doesn't explain the mark, though." She turned her attention to the fur and inspected every single piece, turning them multiple times in her aura. She heard a chirp and saw Philomena land on her shoulder. "Do you have any idea what's wrong with Luna?" she asked the phoenix. Philomena tilted her head to one side and chirped again. "Adolescence? I suppose that is a theory. I'll have to confirm it once there are more ponies to study." Another chirp. "This world is not yet ready for them. Give me a few years, and then there will be more ponies." A few chirps and a squawk. "No, I am not delaying. I just want to make things interesting." Philomena cocked her head to one side and chirped. "There were thousands of similar creatures from my first home. People used to stare in wonder at them, and now my new followers will be able to share that wonder." She paused and looked up. "I think I'm getting soft." Philomena chirped in confusion. "I've spent most of my new life gushing over creations. I know I took pride in the Imperium, but I never gushed about it." Philomena chirped a few times. "No, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but when the time comes and I must lead my followers I need to be a stern leader, not one that cares so much about her subjects that she coddles and shields them." A chirp. "I met several during my travels, most ended up disgraced, dead or both." Another chirp. "Yes, I do need some way to keep my skills sharpened. But since sentient races to command or fight for are few and far between I don't see that happening anytime soon." She turned and spotted a rather angular piece of rock. "An idea. That could work too." Luna awoke to the sound of something chipping against rock. Puzzled, she looked around and saw her sister hunched over something, an improvised chisel and hammer ensnared in her telekinetic aura. Luna approached, careful to not disturb her sister. "Tia, what are you doing?" she asked once she got close enough. "Creating a way for me to keep my tactical and strategic sense sharp," she replied, turning a large square over to inspect it. Luna saw that a grid had been etched into one side of the board, and every other square had been blackened slightly. How is that supposed to help? There is more to this than a simple board, Luna. Celestia set the board aside and pulled out 32 small figurines. Some looked like ponies dressed in light armor, while others looked like big rocks with smaller rocks attached to the top. What is all this? It's a game, Luna. Supposedly, it was designed to replicate an ancient battle, but then I was not in that region during the time period it was invented, so I cannot be sure. It's been called many things, chess, regicide, and many other names. Can you teach me how to play? There was a pause before Celestia smiled. Sure. Come, sit in front of me and I'll set this up. Luna nodded and sat down while Celestia set the board down and began to arrange the pieces. Once she had finished, she picked up several of the pieces and placed them in front of Luna. Now, this game is a bit complicated for beginners, so pay attention. Celestia raised the smallest of the pieces, a lightly armored pony wielding a small spear. This is a guards pony, your most basic unit. He may move only one square at a time in a straight line, but he may attack another piece diagonally. Luna blinked a few times before nodding. Celestia set that piece down and pulled out one of the boxy things. This is a tank. It may move as far as it wants, but only in horizontal and vertical lines. Why do I have 8 of the first ponies but only 2 of these? Luna asked. Because guards ponies are expendable, tanks are not. Now, Celestia produced a second pony, this one clad in heavy armor and armed with a large sword. This is a marine. Marines move 2 spaces and 1 space to either side, and they can do so in any direction. They may also jump over opposing pieces if they so desire. She moved the piece slightly to emphasize her point. Next are your chaplains. Like tanks, they may move as far as they want, but only on diagonals. Then, there is the Primarch. She lifted one of the larger figures, an impressive Pegasus in finely crafted armor with a large hammer as a weapon. The Primarch is the strongest piece in the game. He may move as far as he wants in any direction he wants. And finally, there is this. Celestia picked up the final piece, an alicorn armored similar to the Primarch. This is the Emperor. Should he be taken, the game will end. Why does it have to be a colt? I'm sorry? Why can't it be a filly? Can it be an Empress? Celestia was silent for a moment. I suppose so. Anyway, the Emperor may move in any direction she wants, but only 1 square at a time. There are a few other rules, but I will teach you those once you have practiced a little. Okay. Luna pushed a few of the pieces with her hooves before looking back up at her sister. Can I go first? Well, normally white goes first. But I thought you would enjoy playing as black since. I want to go first. Luna interrupted, flaring her wings for emphasis. There was a pause before Celestia smiled again. Okay. Her horn shimmered and the board rotated until the white pieces were in front of Luna. It's your move. Luna looked down at her pieces, unsure of what to do. Remembering the movements that her older sister had shown her, and slowly pushed one of her guards ponies into the center of the board. You know, you can use your telekinesis to speed things up, Celestia said as she moved her own piece to counter Luna's advance. No. I'm not using any magic until you figure out what happened to me. Luna pushed another guards pony forward using her nose. Celestia advanced one of her marines forward, eyeing Luna for any signs of change. Another guards pony moved forward, and Luna watched in dismay as Celestia's marine took the piece. Try using some of your back row to support your weaker units, Celestia said as she placed the fallen guards pony on the ground next to her. I knew that. Luna pushed a marine out to cover her guards ponies. Celestia moved a chaplain forward, and with a smile Luna pushed the marine forward and took the first of Celestia's guards ponies. The smile turned to a look of despair as Celestia's Primarch surged forward and eliminated the offending marine, the piece joining the guards pony on the ground. This isn't fair. The little alicorn said as she moved her own Primarch forward. Why? Celestia asked, making her move. You're better at this than me. You know how everything works. That I do, but think for a moment. There will come a time where you will have to stand alone without my help, and are you going to say that something is not fair? Yes. This did not appear to be the answer Celestia wanted. Say you were commanding an army of real ponies. Now, if your enemy was pressing against you, and the lives of thousands lay on the line, would you say to your enemy that what they were doing is not fair? Well, they're hurting a bunch of nice ponies, so that's not fair anyway, Luna said. Luna, Celestia's face hardened slightly. Should you ever be in a situation such as that, you must remember that your enemies do not play by rules. There will be times that they will be more numerous than you, stronger than you, and more intelligent than you. You must never lose faith in your own abilities, for there lies temptation and falling to chaos. How? Say some pony was smarter than you, and you got jealous. Now, a normal pony would go and study, devoting their time to texts and knowledge to learn what the others were better at. However, some would think themselves too inadequate to gain such intelligence, so they looked for other ways to become the others' equal. They make deals, commit rituals, ask favors for intelligence. They swore allegiance to powers that they could not hope to control, all in the name of something that could be easily gained. In the end, they gain their intelligence, but their mind lies shattered and their soul forfeit to the dark gods. I'd never do anything like that. I hope so. They continued to play in silence, the number of pieces on the board slowly shrinking. For the most part, Luna did her best to defend as many of her pieces as possible from Celestia's onslaught, no easy task considering the elder sister still had both of her marines left. Time wore on and they paused only for the two of them to lower the sun, just to make sure what happened to Luna earlier was not affecting the natural order of things. Finally, Luna was left with her Empress, with one chaplain and one marine defending it, and two guards ponies near the last row on Celestia's side. Celestia's Primarch was threatening the two guards ponies, while her chaplains and last remaining tank kept the rest of Luna's pieces pinned down. It was Luna's turn to move. She eyed the pieces a bit before moving her Empress towards Celestia's Primarch. "Risky move," Celestia said. "I know." Celestia nodded and moved her Primarch, eliminating another of Luna's guards ponies. Luna pushed the last guards pony forward until it was inside Celestia's bottom rank. "What happens now? Since you managed to get your guards pony across, you may promote him to any other piece you would like." "Really? I want my marine." There was another pause. "Really? Are you sure you do not want your Primarch?" "No, I want my marine." Celestia shrugged and replaced the guards pony with the marine. The elder sister moved one of her chaplains forward and watched as Luna pushed her new marine back towards the fight. In the process, she managed to fork Celestia's Primarch and Emperor. "Is that good?" "Aye. Yes, very good." Celestia moved her Emperor away and watched as her Primarch fell to Luna's marine. Celestia attempted to corner the marine using her chaplains, but Luna managed to sneak away and pin Celestia's Emperor with her remaining pieces. "Does that mean I win?" Luna asked. Celestia looked at the board before smiling. "Yes, you have beaten me. Congratulations." "Yay." Luna clapped her hooves together and looked at Celestia. "Can we play again?" "Well, actually, I have something else for you to do." Celestia stood. "Follow me." Luna nodded and fell in place behind her. The two walked until they reached Celestia's genetics lab. You said I wasn't supposed to come in here," Luna mumbled, shuffling her hooves. "Well, I am here to watch you." Celestia's horn glowed and several of the genetic manipulators warmed up. "You have a very powerful imagination, Luna, and now I want to see if you can put it to use." Luna blinked in surprise. "You mean? You want me to make something?" she asked. "Why not? What if I mess something up? I'll be right behind you to make sure nothing happens." Luna swallowed and walked up to the first manipulator, the machine glowing slightly as she approached. She propped herself up on her hind legs to get a better view, pushing a few vials out of her way. "Do you need something to stand on?" Celestia asked. "No, I can do this." Luna pulled one vial close and emptied its contents into the manipulator. An image of a double helix appeared before her, and she pulled another vial forward and began to empty that one. "How's that?" "Well, you're off to a good start. Now you just need to remove some things and make sure that the others can fill the gaps." "Okay." Luna pressed a few buttons and watched as the helix rearranged itself. "Like that?" "Yes, but be more careful in your choices. You may accidentally delete something that could be structurally important to the creature you are creating." "Did I do that?" "I did, didn't I?" "You're doing fine, Luna." Luna swallowed and continued working, a small bead of sweat forming on her temple. She removed several more chains and replaced them with others, and soon a new pattern began to emerge. She licked her lips and moved several more links, sighing once she was sure she was finished. The device beeped and out came a small animal, about half the size of Luna. It was avian in appearance, yet it contained the hind legs of a lion. The chick blinked at Luna and chirped, fluttering its wings slightly before standing up. Congratulations, Luna, Celestia said. You have just created a griffin. Griffins had become more common as time went on. Small flocks had sprung up around the world, with the largest populations on a continent to the southeast. They tended to keep to themselves and rarely interacted with other groups, and Celestia was beginning to see signs of potential civilization coming from some of the larger tribes. Luna had tried her hoof at other projects, and soon dragons and what she called star bears had begun to appear. Large predators, they were usually few and far between, and tended to stick near griffin territory where hunting was good. Some strayed close to Celestia and Luna's shelter, and the elder sister was able to test her skills against them. A pack of dragons had attacked only the week before, and aside from a few scuffs to her armor she was no worse for wear. But she had more important things to deal with than dragons. Luna, can you come here for a moment? There was the sound of hooves on stone as the younger Alicon approached her sister. Luna had grown again, and was now up to Celestia's chest. The elder sister did not look up from her work as the younger approached, only stopping once she was certain Luna was standing at her side. You sent for me? Luna asked. One thing Celestia did not like about Luna's growth spurt was that she had lost some of her innocence and had become less fun-loving. Rarely would she go on about her own little worlds, instead devoting her time to managing the night and watching Celestia's every step. Yes. Celestia produced a genetic manipulator, 3 different strands of DNA displayed on the screen. I suppose you know what this is. Luna leaned in for a closer look. It looks like your genetic code but modified, with a few things removed. Exactly. I think it's time that there were more ponies in the world. Luna raised an eyebrow in surprise. Isn't that a little risky? I mean, there are other races already. True, but not ones made in our image. Think of it, Luna, thousands of ponies, all unique in their design, reflecting the splendor that you and I possess. So, all of them are going to look like us? In a way. Celestia activated several protocols on the manipulator, showing a few rough outlines of the ponies she was creating. The first was a normal pony, possessing neither wings nor horn, while the second and third possessed one or the other. The images held for a few moments before collapsing back into the double helixes, allowing the 2 sisters time to collect their thoughts. They'll be weaker than either of us, but they will still possess several gifts from me. The Pegasi shall have command of the air, the unicorns command of the immaterium, and the earth ponies command of the ground. All of them shall work together in one unit, forging a society that shall emphasize harmony and industrialism. How do you know that they will work together? They must, their survival as a species depends on it. If the griffins can begin setting up a society, so can these ponies. Perhaps one of us should be there to guide them along. Celestia shook her head. I do not need them to be coddled. They must learn to survive and develop on their own without our influence, otherwise they would rely on us to save them all the time. But you always spoke of followers, how is distancing yourself from them going to achieve that? There was a pause. In time, Luna, in time. For now, though, it's best if we keep out of their way. Whatever you feel is best, sister. Sister? Whatever happened to Tia? She shook her head again and finished the manipulation, 3 small cells separating and floating into different compartments. The entire process should take a few months. Start searching for suitable locations for them to settle. Yes, sister. Luna turned to leave before Celestia called out to her. Oh, before you leave. Celestia's horn glowed and a suit of armor popped out of thin air. It was of similar design as Celestia's armor, only smaller and silver in color. An image of a crescent moon was etched into the right pauldron, and an alicorn with her wings spread wide took up most of the chestplate. I forged this the other day. It should protect you from anything that might try and hurt you. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Luna smiled as she levitated different segments of the armor and strapped them on, a small hum coming from the armor as each piece connected. Once she was fully armored, Luna looked at Celestia and smiled again. Stay safe, Luna. I will. There was a tremor in the warp, small enough to slip by the watch of Celestia. Deep within the bowels of the immaterium, in parts that even the lords of chaos rarely ventured, creatures began to stir. Beings of immense power, they were fueled by hatred, gluttony, and bigotry, devouring all and leaving only chilled husks to mark their presence. It was said that the first Eldar gods had sealed them away, but with no gods to watch them and new life forming, their prison was weakened enough for the last of them to slip through to this new realm. As the first ponies took their first steps in the world, the air began to cool.